Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We're here again, ready to cut through the noise and get you informed without all the overwhelm.
That's the plan.
So today, we're tackling something really fundamental to how our bodies operate. Metabolism.
Yeah, it's a word you hear everywhere, right? Usually tied to weight. But, well, at its heart, metabolism is this amazing process. It's how your body takes everything you eat and drink
Food and liquids, yeah?
and turns it into the energy you need for, well, everything. Breathing, thinking.
Just existing, basically.
Exactly. All the way up to running a marathon. It powers it all.
Okay. And, everyone talks about fast versus slow metabolism. It feels like something you're just stuck with sometimes. Age, genetics, things you can't really argue with.
True, those definitely play a role, a baseline role. But what's really interesting and what we found digging through our sources today is just how much influence you can actually have.
Ah, okay. So it's not totally fixed.
Not at all. We're talking about things like how much muscle you have and maybe most importantly, your everyday habits.
Like what you eat, how much you move.
Exactly. Your diet, your activity level, sleep, even stress management. These are the levers you can pull.
Right. And that's really our mission for this deep dive. We've looked at a whole bunch of articles, expert insights, dietitians, trainers, health writers.
A good mix.
Yeah, all focused on foods and habits that they claim can help support, maybe even boost your metabolism and help with managing weight. So we're going to unpack what these sources are highlighting for you, what seems most important.
Yeah, the goal is really to get past the buzzwords, understand the why behind certain foods or habits based on the material we looked at, give you some practical takeaways.
Okay, let's get into it then. First, maybe a quick breakdown of the components. What makes up our metabolism? You hear about BMR.
Right, basal metabolic rate. That's kind of the baseline, is the energy your body burns just to keep the lights on when you're completely at rest.
Heart beating, lungs breathing.
Brain ticking over, yeah.
The energy just to be.
Okay. Then there's activity. Activity thermogenesis, that's everything else movement-wise, from like tapping your foot.
Fidgeting counts.
It does. All the way up to intense exercise. Any movement burns calories.
And the third piece, something about food itself.
The thermic effect of food, or TEFA. This one's really key when we talk about diet.
Okay.
It's the energy your body actually uses to digest the food you eat, absorb the nutrients, move them around, store them.
Wait, so you burn calories just processing the calories you ate?
Exactly. And what's really crucial, according to the sources, is that different types of food require different amounts of energy for this process. It's not all equal.
Ah, okay. That sounds like a big part of the metabolism-boosting food idea then.
It really is. So you've got your baseline from age and genetics, sure, but then you have these factors you can influence. Building muscle is huge. More muscle burns more calories even when you're sitting still. Higher resting metabolism.
Right.
And then, like you said, those lifestyle habits, what you eat, when you eat, exercise, sleep, stress, they all constantly nudge your metabolism one way or another.
Which brings us neatly to the specific foods the sources kept mentioning. Again, probably not magic bullets, right?
Definitely not. But the sources suggest they can be really powerful allies when you combine them with generally healthy habits.
Okay, so where do we start? What did the sources point to first?
Well, based on that thermic effect of food we just talked about, protein really stands out.
Protein. Okay, why protein? High as teacuff.
By a significant margin, yeah. Whether it's from meat, fish, eggs, or plants like beans and lentils, your body uses a lot more energy to process protein. The sources suggest somewhere in the range of 15 to 30% of the protein calories consumed are burned just in digestion and processing.
15 to 30%, wow.
Oh.
How does that compare to carbs and fats?
Much lower. Carbs are estimated around 5 to 10% TTAFF, and fats are minimal, like 0 to 3%.
0 to 3, that's a massive difference compared to protein, just based on what you eat.
It is, and that's not all protein does. It's absolutely vital for building and, importantly, preserving muscle mass.
Which we just said keeps your resting metabolism higher.
Exactly. And there's a third benefit, satiety. Protein helps you feel full and satisfied for longer after a meal.
Which probably helps you eat less overall.
That's the idea. Reduces the chances of overeating later. So yeah, higher burn rate during digestion, supports muscle, helps control appetite. It's a strong combo.
Okay, makes sense. What kind of protein foods were highlighted in the articles?
A good variety. Lean meats came up a lot: chicken, turkey, fish, especially the fatty kinds like salmon, tuna, sardines, mackerel.
Good for omega-3s too, right?
Absolutely. Double benefit there. Eggs, of course. And plant-based sources like legumes, beans, chickpeas, lentils.
Lentils got a special mention.
They did in one source, yeah. Call them a powerhouse. Packed with protein, about 8 grams per cooked cup, plus fiber, iron, magnesium, potassium. Really nutrient dense.
Nice. Any others?
Cottage cheese was mentioned as a good low-fat, high-protein choice. And tempeh for a plant-based option.
Okay, lots of choices. If someone listening wants to boost their protein intake, what's like 1 or 2 easy practical tips from the sources?
Well, the main advice was to try and include a source of protein in every meal, if possible.
Breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Yeah, and aiming for that fatty fish recommendation twice a week, the American Art Association says. Simple swaps, maybe add some canned beans, low-sodium ones to your salad or soup.
Easy enough.
Or starting the day with eggs or cottage cheese instead of, say, just toast or cereal. One source noted that an egg breakfast might help reduce total calorie intake for the rest of the day.
Interesting.
And just simple cooking methods, trim fat off meat, grill, or bake instead of frying. Little things add up.
Great practical tips.
Okay.
From protein. Let's switch gears to something with a bit more kick. Chili peppers.
Ah, yes, the spice factor. Chilies contain capsaicin. That's what gives them their heat.
And the sources say that heat does more than just wake up your taste buds.
Apparently so. Capsaicin is noted in the material for temporarily increasing your body's core temperature and, along with it, your metabolic rate.
Oh, really? How much of a boost are we talking?
Well, one source mentioned it might slightly increase calorie burn and fat oxidation after eating maybe around an 8% temporary lift. The effect might be stronger if you're not used to spicy foods.
So not a huge sustained effect, but a little nudge.
Seems like it. Plus, some sources suggest it might also help with appetite control, making you feel a bit fuller.
Okay. How can people easily add them in, without needing a fire extinguisher?
Yeah. You can cook them lots of ways. Grilling, stuffing, steaming, stir-frying. A really simple tip from the sources was just sprinkling a bit of cayenne pepper into things.
Like soups or stir fries?
Yeah, or even just a dash and some lemon water, sauces, marinades. Just start small if you're sensitive to spice.
Good advice. Okay, from heat to hydration. Green tea.
Green tea popped up quite a bit. Its benefits seem linked mainly to 2 things. Compounds called catechins, especially one named EGCG,
Okay.
and caffeine, which it also contains, though usually less than coffee.
Right. So what do these catechins and caffeine do exactly, according to the sources?
Well, the idea is they work together synergistically. They can potentially increase both calorie burning and the rate at which your body burns fat for energy that's fat oxidation.
Both calorie burn and fat burn.
That's what some research suggests. One study cited mentioned about a 4% increase in total energy expenditure over 24 hours with green tea extract. It might also improve exercise performance a bit.
Which burns more calories anyway.
Exactly.
So how much should you drink? Any tips?
The general suggestions seem to be around 2-3 cups a day. Some sources specifically mention drinking it before a workout, maybe to maximize that fat burning potential.
Hot or cold?
Either works. You can even use brewed green tea as a base for smoothies. Oh, and one neat tip was adding a squeeze of lemon.
Lemon. Why lemon?
Apparently, the vitamin C in lemon can help your body absorb those beneficial catechins more effectively.
Huh. That's a great little hack. Okay, speaking of caffeine, coffee was also on the list, right?
It was another very popular drink with metabolic links. The caffeine is the main player here, too.
And how does coffee's caffeine help? Similar to green tea.
It gives a temporary boost to your resting metabolic rate, the calories you burn just sitting around. The sources cited a range, maybe 3% up to 11% increase, but it depends on the dose and how tolerant you are to caffeine.
So your morning coffee literally helps you burn a few extra calories while you read the news.
Potentially, yes, for a short while. Caffeine can also nudge your body towards using stored fat for energy.
So maybe good before exercise too.
That's a common strategy, yeah. Plus, let's be honest, the energy and focus boost from coffee can just make you feel more like getting up and moving in the first place.
Good point.
Ah.
Any downsides or best practices mentioned?
Moderation, mostly. Aiming for 1 to 2 cups a day seems to be the general advice. And crucially, drink it black or with minimal additions.
Because adding lots of sugar and cream would cancel out the benefits.
Pretty much, yeah. Adds back calories and sugar. Also, the sources mentioned being mindful if you have high blood pressure or if caffeine tends to make you anxious or mess with your sleep.
Sensible precautions. Okay, let's shift to something sweeter, maybe. Berries.
Yes, berries. Blueberries, strawberries, raspberries. They might not scream metabolism booster like caffeine does, but the sources explain their role differently.
How so?
Well, first, they're low in calories but high in fiber, and that fiber is key for satiety.
Feeling full again.
Exactly. Helps manage appetite, which supports overall weight management goals. Plus, berries are packed with antioxidants, particularly polyphenols.
And antioxidants help how?
They fight inflammation in the body. There's growing understanding, mentioned in the sources, that chronic inflammation might be linked to weight gain or making weight loss harder.
Okay, interestingly.
And those polyphenols specifically have been studied for potentially helping to regulate how our bodies process fat.
So berries are more about indirect support, appetite control, less inflammation, maybe better fat handling, easy ways to eat more.
Super easy. They're great on their own as a snack, especially if you have a sweet tooth. Toss them into oatmeal, yogurt, salads, smoothies.
Frozen ones, okay.
Absolutely. The sources mention unsweetened frozen berries are just as good nutritionally and often more convenient and affordable.
Perfect. All right, next up, whole grains. Why these over-refined grains?
It comes back partly to that thermic effect of food and also fiber. Whole grains like oats, brown rice, quinoa, barley. They're complex carbohydrates.
Meaning harder to break down.
Exactly. Your body has to work harder, expend more energy to digest them compared to simple refined grains like white bread or white rice. So a slightly higher TEF than simple carbs.
Okay, small advantage there. What else?
The fiber, again, it keeps you feeling fuller for longer, just like with berries and protein, and it helps stabilize your blood sugar levels.
Avoiding those energy crashes.
Precisely. When your blood sugar is stable, your energy levels are more even, you're less likely to feel sluggish, maybe less likely to reach for sugary snacks. Oats got a particular shout out for being great at slowing down sugar release into the bloodstream.
So, steady energy helps digestion burn a bit more. Simple swaps.
Super simple. Start the day with oatmeal or overnight oats. Choose brown rice instead of white. Opt for whole wheat bread or pasta instead of the white versions. Just consciously choosing the whole grain option.
Makes sense. Okay, last one on the food list, but maybe the most essential. Water.
Absolutely fundamental. You might not think of it as metabolic, but hydration underpins literally every process in your body, including metabolism.
Is there a direct effect, though? Do you burn calories drinking water?
Well, some older studies mentioned in the sources did suggest that drinking water could temporarily boost metabolism, maybe by 24–30%.
Really? How?
Part of the theory is something called water-induced thermogenesis. If you drink cold water, your body has to expend energy to warm it up to body temperature.
Okay. Probably not a huge calorie burn overall.
Likely small on its own, yeah. But the bigger point is just staying properly hydrated is non-negotiable for your metabolism to function optimally. Plus, it definitely helps with appetite control.
How so?
Sometimes thirst signals can be mistaken for hunger. Drinking water, especially before meals, can help you feel fuller and better gauge if you're truly hungry.
That's a really practical point. How much should we be aiming for? Any guidelines?
Consistency is key sipping throughout the day. One rough guideline mentioned was taking your weight in pounds, dividing by 2, and aiming for that many ounces of fluid daily, but needs vary.
Okay.
Easy habits are starting the day with a glass or having one before each meal. If plain water is boring, add lemon, mint, cucumber. Just stick mostly to still water. Carbonated drinks can sometimes cause bloating or discomfort.
Good tip. Okay, so that covers the 7 key players from the sources. Protein, chili peppers, green tea, coffee, berries, whole grains, and water. We've heard how they might help TF, specific compounds like capsaicin or catechins, fiber, hydration.
Right, but it's really important to reiterate what the sources stressed. These foods work best as part of the bigger picture.
They're not standalone solutions.
Exactly. They support the system, but the foundation is built on consistent, healthy lifestyle habits overall. Metabolism and weight management are holistic.
So moving beyond just the food, what's foundational according to the material we've reviewed? Exercise has to be huge, right?
Non-negotiable. And specifically, strength training was emphasized again and again. It was called essential for speeding up metabolism.
Why strength training specifically?
Because it builds lean muscle mass, and muscle tissue is metabolically active. It burns significantly more calories at rest than fat tissue does. Building muscle is the most effective way, the source has mentioned, to increase your BMR, that baseline calorie burn.
How often? How much?
Recommendations varied slightly, but generally aiming for 2 to 4 sessions per week, maybe 45 to 60 minutes each. And where appropriate, lifting heavier weights was suggested for seeing results faster.
Okay, so lifting weights is key for that long-term metabolic boost.
Yeah.
What about cardio? Running, swimming, cycling. Still important.
Absolutely. Cardio is crucial for burning calories during the activity itself, which helps create the calorie deficit needed for weight loss. Regular aerobic exercise is strongly linked to losing weight and keeping it off.
How much cardio?
The common recommendation is about 30 minutes of moderate intensity activity 5 days a week, but the sources also mentioned that even shorter bursts, like 3 10-minute brisk walks, can add up. Little exercise snacks.
Exercise snacks, I like that. So it's not an either situation with strength and cardio?
No, the sources really emphasize the combination. Cardio helps with the immediate calorie burn and fat loss, while strength training builds and preserves that metabolically expensive muscle, keeping your metabolism higher over time. You need both.
Got it.
Yeah.
Beyond exercise and the foods we discussed, what else did the sources flag as really critical for metabolic health?
Sleep. It came up repeatedly. Getting enough quality sleep is vital.
And not getting enough that messes things up.
Significantly, yes. Consistently getting less than about 7 hours a night can really disrupt things.
How specifically?
It messes with your hunger hormones. Ghrelin, which makes you feel hungry, goes up. Leptin, which signals fullness, goes down. So you feel hungrier and less satisfied.
Double whammy.
Yeah. Plus, lack of sleep increases cortisol, the stress hormone. Cortisol encourages your body to store fat, especially around the abdomen, and it can contribute to insulin resistance, making it harder to burn fat.
Wow. So good sleep actually helps with fat loss.
The evidence suggests yes. People who sleep adequately tend to lose more weight and more body fat when dieting compared to sleep-deprived individuals.
Okay, that's a powerful motivator to hit
Yeah.
the sack. And that cortisol link connects directly to the next point.
Yeah.
Stress management.
Exactly. If poor sleep raises cortisol, chronic stress keeps it high pretty much constantly.
Which is bad news for metabolism.
Definitely. High cortisol impacts both mental and physical health. Metabolically, it can raise blood sugar, worsen insulin resistance, basically making your body more prone to storing fat and less efficient at burning it.
And stress eating is a real thing, too.
It is. Chronic stress often triggers cravings for high-fat, high-sugar, simple-carb comfort foods, which obviously doesn't help if you're trying to manage weight or improve metabolic health. Finding healthy ways to cope with stress is key.
So looking at all this, the food, the exercise, sleep, stress, it really sounds like the message from the sources is about consistency and building a sustainable lifestyle, not just quick fixes.
That's precisely it. Lasting results come from a balanced, integrated approach. Focusing on good overall nutrition, hitting those protein and fiber goals, including healthy fats, getting regular activity that includes both strength and cardio, prioritizing sleep, managing stress. It all works together.
It's the small things done consistently.
Absolutely. Those simple swaps mentioned in the sources, like using powdered peanut butter for fewer calories, choosing leaner meats, grabbing air-popped popcorn instead of chips,
Sparkling water instead of soda.
zucchini noodles instead of pasta sometimes. Those little choices really accumulate over time and make a difference without feeling overwhelming.
And just moving more in general outside of planned workouts. Does that count too?
Big time. Incidental activity, taking the stairs, parking further away, pacing while on the phone, cleaning the house, it all adds up. It keeps your body active and burning energy throughout the entire day, not just in that 30 or 60-minute workout window. Often overlooked, but really important.
Good reminder. The sources also cautioned against very low-calorie diets, right?
Yes, that's an important point. Drastically cutting calories, especially below around 1,200 per day for most people, can backfire.
Right, so slows metabolism.
It can, yeah. When your body senses severe restriction, it can go into a kind of preservation mode. It might start breaking down muscle tissue for energy because muscle requires more calories to maintain.
And losing muscle lowers your metabolism.
Exactly. Which makes it harder to continue losing weight and much easier to regain it once you stop restricting so heavily. The focus should be on a moderate calorie deficit achieved with nutrient-dense foods that help preserve muscle.
And success isn't just about the scale number dropping.
That's a great takeaway from the sources, too. Sometimes the scale might not budge much, but your body composition is changing. You're losing fat and maybe gaining a little muscle, or at least maintaining it.
So clothes fitting better, feeling stronger.
Those are often much better indicators of positive metabolic changes than just weight alone. Body composition matters more than just the total number.
It sounds like metabolism isn't static either. It adapts.
It really does. It's dynamic. It can adapt downwards if you cut calories too drastically for too long. That's often what causes weight loss plateaus. But the good news is it can also adapt upwards when you consistently fuel it well and challenge it, especially with things like strength training.
Plateaus are frustrating, though. Any advice from the sources on breaking through them?
They're definitely common and considered normal if things haven't changed for, say, 3 weeks or more. Overcoming them usually involves taking an honest look at your habits and making a small adjustment.
Like what?
Could be tweaking nutrition, maybe slightly adjusting calories or macros, focusing more on protein timing. Could be changing up your exercise, increasing intensity, trying a different type of workout. Or it could be getting more serious about sleep or stress management if those have slipped. Tracking your habits can help identify where the bottleneck might be.
So it's about being observant and willing to adjust the plan slightly.
Exactly. The overall message is really about consistency, building sustainable habits, and understanding how all these pieces food, movement, rest, stress interact to support your body's energy processes.
Okay. This has been a really thorough deep dive. Lots of actionable insights from the sources on specific foods like protein, chilies, green tea, coffee, berries, whole grains, water, and also those crucial lifestyle foundations.
Yeah, the exercise, especially strength training, the sleep, the stress management, the hydration, the daily movement, it all fits together.
It really drives home that it's not about finding one single magic food or trick, but about weaving these supportive elements into your life consistently.
Think of them as tools in your toolkit or building blocks. When you combine these beneficial foods with balanced overall nutrition, regular strength and cardio, good sleep, hydration, and stress coping skills, you're building a really resilient metabolic system.
And maybe here's a final thought to leave everyone with, something to chew on. Your metabolism isn't just some fixed number you were assigned at birth that you're stuck with.
Absolutely not. It's dynamic. It's a process that's constantly responding day in and day out to how you treat your body.
So every choice matters.
Every small, consistent choice, what you choose to eat, how you decide to move your body, how much rest you allow yourself, how you navigate stress, all of it actively shapes that metabolic process over time. It's an ongoing conversation between your lifestyle and your physiology.
So the advice is to keep experimenting, find what feels good and sustainable for you, and focus on building those positive habits that support your body for the long haul.